Hi guys, this is a tutorial on how to put your images into a template in Photoshop that you may have purchased or designed yourself. I've made this really simple template with two design elements where I want the images to show. So typically it will look something like this. It'll have a background layer which may be plain white like this one is, or it could be a color, it could be another image, whatever. And then there'll be other layers that represent the design elements in your template. Now I have labelled mine top and bottom. Oddly enough, this is the top one and this is the bottom one. Now what I want to do is I want to put these images into each of these elements here. So the first thing I need to do is to decide which design element I'm going to use first. So I'm going to use the top one. So I click on that layer, and then I have to make sure I have the move tool, which is over here on the left. I need to make sure I have that selected. Now you can either select it by clicking on this particular icon, or you can press V on the keyboard. That will do the same thing. That's the shortcut. This is the image that I'm going to put in the top design element, so I need to click on that, and then I need to just drag it and drop it across onto the template. Two things you'll notice here. The first is that it's actually in front of the design element, and the second is that it's larger. That won't always be the case. It depends on what you've actually sized this image to. So mine aren't too different, so it's not too huge on the template. Now I'm going to deal with each of those two things here. The first thing is that it's in front of the design element. I want it to show through the design element. So to do that, I need to clip it to the design element. So making sure that I have it selected over here in the layers palette, I can either go up to layer and then create clipping mask, and here in there it also shows you another shortcut to do it. So I can create the clipping mask and it will be behind. Now I'm just going to undo that with Control Z so that it's not clipped anymore. And the other way, in the way that I typically do it, is using the shortcut to hold down the Option key while my cursor is on the line between the two layers, and you'll see this icon comes up, and then if I click, that will do exactly the same thing and clip it to the layer underneath. So you can see that it may not be placed perfectly. It's not the whole image isn't showing through this design element. So what I do is I can click on that area and I can move it to wherever I want, and I might decide that I like that crop, and that's fine. I can just leave it like that. Or I might decide that I want more of the original image to show through. So what I need to do is I need to resize just the image, not the design element, just the image. So I make sure that I've got my image selected over here, which says layer 1, and then to resize it, I'm going to need to transform it. So I can either go up to Edit, down to Transform and Scale, and that will show me this perimeter, and then I can do what I need to resize it. Now if I just think, oh, I want the top to come down to here, the bottom to go up to there, these squishing, can you see what's happening? Yeah, it doesn't look great, does it? So it's actually, we've lost the proportions of the image, and she's a bit squishier than what she was in the original. I'm going to escape. There we go. So that just takes me back to the position I was before, and now I'm going to transform again, and this time I'm going to use Command T on the keyboard because that's the shortcut for it, and I get that same perimeter. Now if I want to maintain the scale and the proportions, what I need to do is hold down the Shift key, and then I can drag it in and it will remain exactly the same proportion as the original. You can see that it doesn't fit perfectly. The scale isn't exactly the same with the design rectangle and the ratio of the image, but that's okay. I'm happy enough with that. So what I'm going to do up here is I can either tick up here to accept that transformation, or I can press return. And there we go, it's in there. I can still move the image around in there if I want to, if I decide I want that little bit extra bit at the bottom rather than at the top, but I still have the ability to move that around. Okay, So that's how you do it. So let's do the second one now. Let's make sure that I've got the design element highlighted, that layer highlighted that I want to use next. And I'm going to choose this image here to go into it. So I click on that, make sure I've got my move tool selected, which I certainly do up here, and then I'm going to drag and drop. Same problem again. It's on top of the design element and it's bigger than the design element. So I'm going to use the shortcuts this time, which is hold my cursor on the line between the two layers, hold down the option key, you'll see this icon pop up and click, and there you go. Now again, I would like more of the original to show within this design element, so I need to transform the image. So I'm going to use the shortcut again, which is Command T. There we go. And remember to hold down the Shift key to maintain the proportions. And I'm going to just drag that in like that. There we go. I'm pretty happy with that. So I'm just going to press return, or I could have ticked up the top. And there you have it. Putting images into a template. Hope it was helpful.